Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People, a podcast about role-playing games and the weird, wonderful people behind them. Hello Weirdos! Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People, the podcast where we get to talk to the weird, wonderful creators behind the game and stuff we love so much. My name is Diogo Nogueira, and today we were having the opportunity to talk to two amazing creators from the Epic Levels, from the Mad Dungeons podcast, Andrew and Steve. We got to talk to the art that we love so much, what inspires us, the weird experiences we had, our passion for art, for counterculture, for the independent stuff, be it in films, be it in movies, be it in comics, be it in the RPG stuff we love so much. And we get weird, we get personal, they ask me questions too, I get into this weird evangelical part of me that talks about Bo Burnham, which is this amazing comedian and artist that I admire so much. But it's a really great chat. We are really good friends, and we talk about gaming, art, creativity, and we're gonna love it as we did. So let's get weird with Steve and Andrew. Hello Weirdos! Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People, the podcast where you get to know the people behind the games we love, the weird people behind the weird, wonderful games we like so much. And of the other stuff they do, like we have two wonderful guests here. We have Steve and Andrew from Epic Levels. They have an awesome podcast. They make music. They make rap about role-playing games, and they are wonderful people. And I'm sure a little bit weird, like everybody here, everybody that does this, I guess. So, Andrew, Steve, how are you?
Andrew, really good. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm really good. Steve, how are you doing?
Desperately embracing my weirdness as I have my entire life. Yeah, this is par for the course for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all kind of go through some of that, especially role-playing games. If you grew in the 80s and early 90s, it's kind of really weird to be, and all people would see you weird. But what I like to ask people who come here is to introduce yourself a little bit, say who you are, the stuff that you do, and tell us a small weird detail about yourself, or a weird habit, or the way you do coffee, or any small detail that people would find it weird or something like that.
Sure. Steve, you want to go first?
Okay, I'm Steve Albertson of Epic Levels, the Dragon Warrior. So we at Epic Levels do, like Diogo said, music. We also do a podcast called the Mad Dungeon Podcast, and we also make role-playing game stuff. I come from playing role-playing games as being a part of weirdness, and I feel like counterculture in general, where skateboarding, punk rock, smoking weed, all that stuff went together with role-playing game stuff. So from there, I went to film school. I make movies. I now run a music publicity firm. I've played in bands my entire life. Me and Andrew are getting geared up to release our next EP. I have another band in Los Angeles called SPs. I'm also mixing that. So a lot of art stuff. And then in general weirdness, I'll say I have a pretty strict morning ritual involving coffee, food, walking my dog that takes roughly 2 hours, and I will not break from it.
Whoa. Could you share us the ritual?
Yeah,
what is
walk
it?
Walk us through the ritual.
The alarm goes off in the morning. I'll spend a few minutes looking at my phone, petting my dog.
What time do you
it's a rough one. So 7 a.m. An alarm goes off, and I'll often ignore that one and get up at the next one that comes in at 8 o'clock.
Can I interject here for just one moment? Can I cut in? I just have to cut in. Steve lived with me for a year, last year, with me and my wife. I never saw Steve before 9 o'clock in the morning. Not once did I ever hear
people change. People change.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's right, Andrew. People change, but not me. I get up when I want. I own my own business. This is a big excitement for me where, if I stay up late the night before writing, which is a frequent thing, then I get a full night's sleep. But my alarm's set for 7 and 8. Infrequent, I'm going to get up at the 7 o'clock one. Normally, I'm getting up at that 8 o'clock one. From there, I cook myself breakfast. I have the same breakfast every day. I cook a big pile of vegetables, sauteed, and then put some eggs in that. And these days, I've been eating it as a taco. So I've been having breakfast tacos for quite a while. Andrew can attest to this too. It was a regular morning.
Oh, yes.
I was living with him, whether he was interested in that kind of breakfast that day or not. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Steve's breakfast ritual is like when we'd be going to the grocery store and be like, Steve, what groceries do you want me to get from the store for you? And he would always just say vegetables. And it's like, okay, well, like, what do you want? You want squash? You want peppers? He's like, no, vegetables.
Yeah. The truth is, if I'm shopping, I'm not choosing what I want based on what I'm planning to cook. I go to the fresh vegetables and I pick out what looks good. So I love nice fresh farmers markets. I like good looking fresh vegetables. I also walk my dog every morning for about a half an hour, where I'm often listening to a podcast of some sort, much like Giogo's podcast or my own. And I've lots of favorites.
You listen to your own podcast?
Yeah, I definitely listen to my own podcast. I listen to my own music. I watch my own movies. I read my own books. I don't know who the artists are that spend years of their lives making things and then never revisiting them. It is wild to me.
No, I mean games. I mean, of course, I play my games and I write stuff for them. And
but
the
my
music,
podcast,
yeah.
So most of the time, like the Mad Dungeon podcast, I've already listened to it a couple times to.
Yeah, I mean,
so with the Mad Dungeon podcast,
so I'm listening to it, but after I release it, I haven't gone back yet. But I bet I would. I mean, I would miss talking to some of these people. Maybe I don't know, listen to some stuff or I remember some interesting stuff they said, because every episode there's these moments they said, oh, these people are geniuses, they're having these great insights and stuff like this. So yeah, maybe
Diogo's gonna go back in time. He's like, oh, Steve's coming over, what should I get him for breakfast? And be like,
I know now.
I gotta go back and listen. Yes. Vegetables.
Yeah, I also have another podcast I did for years that's been on hiatus called Total Movie Recall, and I love going back and listening to that one too, where we talk about movies that meant something to us. It was me and another guy named Ryan. But I'll go back to those on a regular basis just because Ryan makes me laugh so much. But not so much. How about you, Andrew? Who are you and what's some weirdness about you?
Who am I? Well, so my name is Andrew. If you want to see me online or in the RPG space, I go by Tiger Wizard. That's my it's my artist moniker. It has been for a very long time. What makes me weird? I guess the thing that like makes me a little bit weird is like I have always had sort of a bent towards the counterculture stuff, but I think the thing that makes me even like weirder than just that is I'm kind of a chameleon when it comes to just stuff that I like. So my wife will attest to this. My beautiful bride Becky. I can kind of fit in with most groups of people, whether it's a group of cool people or uncool people.
Particularly the uncool people.
Who?
Well, yeah. I mean, uncool people and cool.
How do you define cool people and uncool people?
One wears a leather jacket and the other's no shoes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when when I meet people, they sort of automatically assume like, oh, this guy's into RPGs, so probably listens to heavy metal and only likes comic books. But I've got pop music playlists that really slap, and
Yeah.
I can hang out with football guys and drink beer and talk about stupid stuff just as much as I can talk about nerdy stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit counterculture to not
But
be
who
in a
who are the
single
cool
box.
ones? The
You're the
geeks
cool
or
one.
the football guys? That's what I'm. How do you define
It
who are the
depends.
cool ones?
Well, I think it
Depends who
depends
we're
on your,
talking
like,
to, right? Like if you're
yeah, it
talking to
depends
me, you
on
say,
which,
"Oh, of course the geeks are the cool ones." If you're talking to
yeah, or
football
if
guys,
you're
say, "Oh,
like,
of course the football guys are the cool ones," right?
yeah, of course. And like if you're talking about music, like music is cool depending on, which genre you find to be the most appealing. Some
Can't
people will be like,
everything be
oh,
cool? It's we're all cool in some way. I don't know.
right. So like this is the thing. So my perspective on it is this. So we talk about like what a weird person is and what a normal person is, because a weird person is like divergent from normal, but like a normal person is just somebody that you haven't gotten to know very well yet, because like everybody has something
Oh yeah, of
unique
course.
or
Yeah,
interesting, and you just have to invest a little bit of time to
yeah.
kind of figure out what that
But some
is.
people really make an effort to hide this, to conform to something they think others want them to be, or they think they can't be this because it's people would think they're weird. Because
Yeah,
for a long time, standing out uh, was wrong. You have to
it was
conform. You have
bad.
to follow these rules. I went to military school, so we have like this uniform, everything. And nowadays we're much more open to the diverse, to being different, to being unique, and to being your own monster. So the weird today, I think it's can have a much more positive bent. Which I like to
Yeah,
say, like the weird's the new wonderful. But back then, the words were like, oh, that person's weird. Keep away from them. You have to conform because you have to, I don't know, survive. The tribe mentality, right?
yeah, and it's
To
like
fit in.
it's kind of like trying to, you try to fit into this box, right?
Yeah.
Try to conform to a certain way of being. So
Yeah, you both mentioned
I
like
think,
punk rock. I loved punk rock. Like for me, like the best band ever is the Ramones, and I've always been to that. But
yeah,
to be like as a teenager into punk rock, like to be a punk rocker as a teenager, you I couldn't like, I don't know, Britney Spears. I don't know. I couldn't like,
I like some Britney
yeah.
Spears.
Yeah, I know,
That
but I
Toxic
mean
song, it's
the
pretty
group
good.
the group pressure is, for liking like pop or something was like, oh, this is uncool. This is like, I don't know. Or there was other kind of music here in Brazil, like the funk or the samba. Always have this like, it seems like sports teams level of rivalry sometimes. It's weird. Like why can't people like this? It's like when people have this where uh Ramones t-shirts and people, wow, do they even know any music from the Ramones? Who the fucking cares? Wear the fucking t-shirt. Because
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know, I keep imagining maybe this person has no fucking idea who the Ramones are. Who cares? But maybe someone see this t-shirt and say, oh, the Ramones, what the fuck is that? And they Google it and they find out about the Ramones and they like the fucking Ramones. Isn't that worth somebody who doesn't know? Let them wear it's a fucking t-shirt.
I think
you
it's all
you've really
about
helped
finding
me.
tribes. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, you've really helped me, like, pinpoint. You asked me earlier, like, what makes somebody cool, right? And I think cool people are just sort of accepting,
Yeah.
of like, okay, yeah, you want to like that, like that. That's cool. Do whatever, do what you want. It's
Yeah.
fine. And I think people that aren't cool are doing what you said, where it's like being judgmental about other people's musical tastes, or what kind of books they want to read, or really just being judgmental in general is
Yeah.
kind of not cool.
I'm
What were you
uncool
gonna say,
all the
Steve?
time. I'm uncool constantly, if this is our definition of it. I
I mean, I
Nice.
was like that for a long
Yeah.
time. For a long time, I was like that. I had. We have this saying, like, if the person doesn't like the Ramones, they can't be a good person because they don't like the Ramones. You know, that's
I mean, I was gonna
basic. You know.
say, like wearing a shirt, like wearing a Ramon shirt or anything like that is, or however you dress or how you present yourself, it's a way of showing like some sort of tribalism, right? It's like, I'm with this
Yeah.
group, I'm not with this other one, or a way for you to connect with people. When I was in Brazil, I had a Miskatonic University shirt that I liked wearing all the time, like a college style shirt. And I was at a punk rock show, and some guy, no, or karaoke, maybe it was at a karaoke night, but a guy came up to me and he's like, yeah, Miskatonic, huh? Did you into that school? And I'm like, oh, me and this guy are on the same page. Like, we understand the secret language of the uniform we're wearing.
Yeah. 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 I mean, but imagine if someone is wearing the Miskatonic shirt because they thought it was like a cool drawing because I have these symbols or anything. I don't know. And you went there and asked it, and they had no idea. Like, what that changes for you? I don't know. Do you feel
Oh, we'd
why
still be
do people?
friends, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, who the fuck cares? I mean, people act like they're losing something as this person is stealing something from them. They're not losing anything.
I mean,
Why?
more likely than not, you're gaining something, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's something they love, and they want to they don't want to share with others, or they don't want to share with, I don't know, with
Yeah, like
someone
what's the
they
worst
find
thing that
worth
can
it. Yeah,
happen? You
yeah,
introduce somebody to something that you love, like, oh,
yeah,
why is that a bad thing, right?
yeah. I don't know.
So,
Well,
yeah, so Diogo, tell us a little bit about what makes you weird. Does everybody hear that every week on the show? Like, or has anybody
oh,
asked you that
okay.
on the show yet?
I don't think so, but sometimes I
About time.
share.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's about time.
I mean, yeah. Well, I have this just weird thing that I have in mind about my kids. They say, "Oh, we are really, really good parents. We're really good with your son and everything." But like my son and I are really alike, and it's more like it feels more like I'm taking care of myself. So it feels more like selfishness than selflessness, you know? Because like we're really alike, and that's something I think about. So maybe that's something weird. I don't know.
Do you dress alike? Do you have
No,
matching outfits with your kids?
yeah. Sometimes he wants to when we do that, but not always. Yeah.
He doesn't have a cool Primal Quest shirt like you've got on.
Oh yeah, not yet. But yeah, one day for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Andrew and Steve, one thing I like to ask guests is what how did they find weird and for themselves, like what identifies for you as weird, and why do you seek it, and why that's interesting you?
I mean, I
Can you?
embrace the weird in all things that I love. Like, I think role-playing games and film in particular, I'm always drawn
But how would you
towards.
define it? How would you say, oh, that's weird? How can you identify it? How I don't know, how do you relate to that? You know, you see something that's weird and that's not.
I think it's something that's slightly shocking, right? Like something that you come across that is outside of the
The
mundane,
unexpected.
something. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
there's
yeah, the
definitely for weirdness.
extraordinary, you know, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when I see a film like The Toxic Avenger, I know there's a remake coming out soon, but that movie is insane, like at every turn. And I think it's that unexpectedness, or like John Waters films, like you just don't know what's coming around the next
Sure.
corner.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think for me, oh, go ahead.
do you mean I really like Quentin Tarantino movies because I think they're really unexpected. They are not really weird dealing with supernatural phenomena, but compared to other like action movies that are really predictable, they can be really weird sometimes. Like the way the characters behave or the way subjects are brought up, right? So that's something you would find weird. Like, do you consider Quentin Tarantino movies weird in this fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're shocking. Shockingness can be weird as well. But I mean, there's also borderline supernatural things, like when Uma Thurman's character comes back to life after being stabbed in the chest with a hypodermic needle, or Marcellus Wallace getting hit by that car, which might have killed almost anyone else. I mean, there's just like wild things.
Yeah.
The ear cutting off scene in Reservoir Dogs is you don't see it coming. And then these are the type of people absolutely far outside of the norm. I'd say his characters in every film are, far from mundane.
Like the Inglorious Bastards, it's a World War II movie, but it's weird as fuck for a World War II movie, right?
Oh yeah, like, and I mean, it's like a Dirty Dozen style oddball stuff, but it's also a fake history of like the murder of Hitler. So you have a lot. So you get the unexpected with all of that too, where you're like, where you don't know where it's going. You got a definition, Andrew?
Yeah.
And no, I don't have a good one.
It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be
fine.
Yours.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, hearing you two talk about movies and Quentin Tarantino and stuff that's just like built around these sort of characters and these stories that are surprising and shocking. The thing that sort of in my mind sets them apart from, I guess, what I would call a normal story or a Hallmark movie is
period drama.
Sure, it's like something that is extra, right? So something that is extraordinary or unlike, anything else surrounding it. So on the one hand, I feel like Quentin Tarantino has sort of developed a signature, right? So if you look at Quentin Tarantino movies next to other Quentin Tarantino movies, I think that they're not all that weird because that's kind of what you expect is, shocking and jarring stories and characters. I think for me, the thing that I find very weird is when you have stuff that seems pretty standard and, normal-ish, and that's the baseline, and then something extraordinary enters that situation. That's what really strikes me as weird, is when you have like in a sort of like a low magic setting in an RPG, and then all of a sudden there's a sorcerer or a dragon, and it's unexpected because it's not the
wouldn't you expect that in a low fantasy RPG too?
Only when you're hunting down evil wizards, right?
Yeah, if you're hunting down wizards, sure. I mean, but you would expect it from a movie if you saw the preview, right? Like, so
yeah.
I don't know. It's I feel like it's kind of hard to be like truly surprised these days, but I don't know. I like to look at a lot of artwork, and I like finding little hidden treasures in artwork. Like if an artist will, and it's something that I like to do in my artwork, is I like to tuck little tiny little
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs, yeah, that's exactly it. And I think I like that stuff a lot in other people's art, which is why I try to do that in my artwork.
Do you have a favorite artist or a couple of artists that's you've been checking out recently that strikes you like really cool weird art or something?
Sure. I mean, I very recently I've been looking at a lot of Diogo Nogueira artwork.
Yeah, if you look closely, you could find Steve Albertson's face in a rock in one piece of art in Primal Quest core rulebook. No, that's not true.
Not. People are going to be
not
looking though.
Yet. Yeah, go find it.
Well, actually, I've been looking at Simon Beasley recently, as well as Bill Sienkiewicz.
Well, and Andrew Knows the Biz is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a thing. For sure.
Well, not only that, Andrew, we just had the best dwarf drawing contest where you could go see some very fun drawings over on our website, epiclevelsrapgods.com, that Andrew judged with Errol Otis, who known for their weird art, and also David Hoskins.
Fantastic weird
art. Yeah,
artists,
but I mean, and honestly, both of them are art heroes of mine.
Top tier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to get to work with David at Exalted Funeral. We're both on the creative team over there, so that's pretty awesome to get to chat with that guy. He's a phenomenal artist, amazing eyes. And Errol is a super fun, quirky guy. Like, you need to have him on the show because he's weird too, So
I never imagined I could invite him, but maybe, I mean,
why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
You should have Simon Beasley on here too. Because
I have at least some like fantasy wanted guests that I want to invite for the show. Like people, like famous people. But who knows?
Me and Andrew
maybe
made
one
a
day.
similar. Yeah, me and Andrew made a similar guest for our podcast too. There's people on there that are like have played Dungeons and Dragons once or mentioned it in an interview once, like Danny DeVito or like someone weird like that. That's like never going to be on our show. But I'll hit up their management because what are they going to do? Say worst thing is they don't answer.
Yeah, I mean,
second best is they say no.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna wait like until I have more episodes to invite some of these people. But yeah, I mean, I would do it eventually.
Who's your favorite artist? Diogo?
Don't say Tiger Wizard. It's embarrassing. I'm right here. Don't say.
Do you mean artists? Do you mean artists in general, or do you mean illustrator?
Whatever you want to answer.
Yeah, like what inspires you the most?
I have a creative crush.
Oh, I like this. I like this.
Yeah. Bo Burnham, the comedian, musician. Yeah. I mean, for me, he's a genius. I mean, the stuff
8th grade
he does. Yeah, I mean, for me, the special Inside we recorded during the pandemic.
Yeah. Make you some content, right?
Yeah, really connected to me. And have you seen the vinyl for Inside? I have it right here. 1 minute.
You didn't even mean like 1 minute. It turned around. It was in arm's reach.
It's close my. It's a box set, and they have like the various vinyls, and each vinyl has this acetate cover. And the image inside, like you mix the acetate covers between the vinyls, and the image changes. So it's like interactive, and really made me think about those vinyls for RPGs that have maps. And you could have something like this, like, oh, this is the kingdom, but you put the acetate, and this is the kingdom in the shadow dimension. So it changes something, You could play with maps or something like this. So Bo Burnham inspires me as a game designer too. Like the way he plays with the media has inspired me to play with a little bit of the media of role-playing games and the people around the table and stuff like this. So yeah. My favorite artist is a comedian. Yeah.
If you're looking for some music that is a physical object that comes with a map inside of it.
Oh yeah, we got one of those.
We got one of those. Is that on your shelf somewhere too?
Yeah, the CD. Yeah, I mean, I have the CD. Do you guys have a vinyl too?
No.
Oh, okay.
One day. But I just watched Bo Burnham as a villain in a movie.
Oh yeah, which one?
What was it?
Well, let me know them. I'm
Yeah, I don't know. I've never
for portrait
never
grader,
seen
I've after I discovered Insides, I went a little bit like in my hyper focus and like hunting everything I could find from him because it was really. I mean, it's incredible. The special, it's funny, it's insightful. The music is really good. I listen to it on Spotify as just music, you know.
Oh yeah.
some of those songs are like uber catchy, right? Like they get
Yeah,
stuck in
yeah,
your
yeah,
head a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Jogu, what about
My son
visual?
sings. My son, it's 8 years old.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't speak English, but he sings Bo Burnham.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Corrupted. He's corrupted at
Yeah,
such a young age.
Is
yeah,
that corruption?
No,
yeah.
no, it's
I
the
don't
right
know.
way to be. When I was Diogo's son's age, the only things I cared about were comic books and horror movies and stand-up comedy and sketch comedy.
And you can thank your parents for that.
I thank Bo Berman for that.
Oh, okay.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
Jogu, what about visual artists? So
Okay.
like illustrators.
Well, Aero Autos is like a big thing for me. I've always in doubts if I like BX so much for the rules or for the art.
For the
For the
art.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's amazing. But I mean, Peter Mullen is a more like contemporary artist that's incredible. He has a reminiscence of Autos, I think, like this weirdness,
Hmm.
this style that's kind of cartoonish but really classic, old school, and kind of statuesque. But I mean, I'm fascinated by Peter Mullen's art. Uh,
He's
yeah,
great.
yeah. I mean, there is Alan Love or something that I follow on Instagram. He doesn't do RPGs. I think he does like his own arts, but it's really graphic, and I try to remember to show it in the show notes. But it's a really great artist that works with monotype kind of press and things like this. So yeah. But I mean, there's
Cool.
so many great artists in the
Yeah.
RPG scene. It's kind of hard to, you know, Lucas Kowalski that's made Cosmosaurus that makes a lot
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
covers, and I want to work with him on so many stuff, and yeah.
I mean, Lucas, who just won our best dwarf drawing contest.
No, it's
Oh
a
yeah.
Oh,
different
different
a
Lucas.
different Lucas,
Oh,
yeah, but
Okay.
it's
also
Lucas
very talented.
Pivrinsky. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I
Yeah.
have another cover with him. Uh, yeah, a weird thing about me, I commission covers for RPGs I haven't written yet. So I've spent
Oh yeah, you
all
told
this
me this,
money.
yeah.
Yeah, so I spent all this money on a cover, and it's sitting there. Oh, I have to write this game because I spent $500 on this cover. So I have to do it.
That's
You know.
that's a way to do it. It's a way to
Yeah,
keep you honest, right? Keep you
yeah,
working. I love it.
That's one of
motivated.
my
You know.
favorite things you've ever told me, Giogu, is that you do that. You're like, I have an idea for this thing. I'm going to commission a cover. I'm going to get it. That means I have to write it. The other thing is, like, since me and Andrew have been doing the like epic level stuff, we've also been able to commission artists to, do art for the things that we're making,
Yeah,
and that also feels really good.
Yeah.
In
yeah,
general. So we have
it's awesome.
posters. Yeah, we have a poster series as well where we have like a movie poster side and then a full page, like one page dungeon
Adventure.
on the other.
Oh, it's interesting you should bring that up because
Yeah,
I seem to recall asking one of my favorite artists
yeah.
from Brazil to do
I
an
think now I
illustration
can
for me.
deliver. I've been able to draw again. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
if you haven't heard that episode, go check it out.
Yeah.
It's the
Meow
what was it?
Madon
Meow.
Cave,
Yes, Meow Madon Cave.
Diogo Nogueira,
It's
season
very
1.
fun.
Diogo, OG from the Mad Dungeon podcast.
Talking about creating stuff, one thing I like to ask too is, do any of you have any ritual or anything you have to do before you sit down to do your creative work, or to to draw, to write, to make music or something like this? I mean, besides the
Yeah, go
morning
ahead, Steve.
ritual, Steve has. I mean, do you have anything specific for the creative act?
I'll tell you what, that morning ritual is kind of part of it, right? Because if I know what I'm working on, a bigger part than sitting down and writing is to think about it, right? So me and Andrew are getting ready for season 3 of the Mad Dungeon podcast. That'll be an actual play. And we're still just getting started with it, but it's in my brain a lot for what we're going to be doing. So when we do the Mad Dungeon podcast, this season we're doing a single room, and we create it kind of Mad Lib style with the guest. So there's not a lot of thought that goes into it beforehand. We create it together on the spot, and it's a different way of writing than when you're writing other things. I have a background, my degree is in film production with documentary and also screenwriting. So whenever I'm writing anything more long form, I have a system in place of outlining it and different act structures, things like that. And I have a whole different process for that than when I'm writing Mad Dungeon stuff, or we have more adventure location things that are coming up. I just ran a playtest for Andrew last weekend, actually. But when I'm thinking about RPG things, I'm more just trying to imagine what it looks like in my head before I even get down with paper. And I also outline like crazy.
I see. I was asking more, do you usually listen to music? I mean, something you do to get in the mood. I mean, the structure, the prep you do was thinking about, like, do you listen to any kind of music? Do you like make coffee to have nearby? Do you have water? Like, do you have an invocation of the creative muse or anything like this?
No, it's more like these days, it's more like
you
juicing,
have to wear
right?
some flip-flops or juicing. What is juicing? Yeah.
It's like I have a lot of things on my plate and a lot of things to get done. So when I sit down to work, it is all business, and it's more about arranging what needs to be done. It's more like triage every day of my life. It's not a relaxing thing for me to write recently or for a long time, because I'm currently doing the Mad Dungeon podcast, where we have to record, write, edit, put this out weekly. With all of that stuff, I have my regular day job where I'm writing bios for bands. I'm also pitching things, writing pitches. I do publicity for music. I'm also in the middle of mixing 2 different records. So I'm also like taking notes on what I want it to sound like. So these days, I mean, like juicing, and that like I need to shove all the stuff in a hopper, get it through, and then Wow. I'm more interested in getting a first draft, letting it sit for a minute, and then coming back to it than I am a ritual like Stephen King likes to eat a grapefruit or whatever before he sits down at his typewriter.
He likes to eat a grapefruit first?
I don't know. I just made that up. But something. I have read his On Writing book, though, the Stephen King On Writing, and he does have some ritual
I
things
sing a
like
song.
That. You sing a song?
Yeah.
Like it's time to get to work song?
Kinda. It's a punk rock song that says that life is kind of punk rock show. That's everything is happening. You have little time, but you have to go there and do everything you can and just enjoy it. That's last, kick the bad stuff away and just keep playing. Something like this.
I like it. That's like a little ritual just to shake off the cobwebs and get into it.
Yeah.
My brain goes a million miles.
Live everything. I think I know everything's happening. I have the J job. I have kids and wife. I've leave everything behind. I have just, I don't know, 30 minutes, 1 hour, or the amount of time I have. It's the punk rock show. I'd go there, play, like we have this role and we play it. And when it's done. Be happy with what you got. Maybe a crappy show. It may be a good show. Maybe 1,000 words, maybe 300 words, and just go there. And the song says it's no matter it's sunny or it's rainy, you just go there, play, and keep going, So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, So
yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
I mean, it's a muscle. You have to exercise that muscle. That's the other part. Writing, art, whatever. You have to be doing it. So part of
if you stop, it's hard to get back on it. That's exactly it's actually like a muscle. Like if you spend too long without going to the gym or exercising, when you get back, you're gonna feel sore. We will want to stop the next day. Oh, I'm not gonna do that next day. I'm sore, and you always try to push away. Like and there's a great book about that, by the way, called The War of Arts, and it talks about the resistance, which is this entity that prevents you from doing like your work, that manifests in procrastination, or like all this stuff we say to ourselves, it's okay if we don't do this now, we'll get with some yeah,
get to it tomorrow. There's always tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
How about you, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. What was the question again? I forgot.
Do you have any
ritual?
Oh, yeah,
you start
rituals.
doing
Yeah,
art stuff?
before I start doing any kind of creative. Yeah, I eat a grapefruit. Yeah, just like Stephen King.
He's lying right to our faces.
So I don't think that I have like a particular ritual for any one type of thing, but I do draw something every day, and most of the time I don't share it with anybody. I just keep it in my sketchbook, and then when I'm sitting down to do something very specific, I'll flip back a few pages and look at the things that I drew the day before. So I don't go back and listen to the podcasts that I've recorded like Steve does, but I will flip back pages in my sketchbook and see what I drew the last couple of days before I sit down. And
that's great.
I do a lot of research. So I really like to, when I'm writing something, I really like to, okay, I come up with an idea. It's like, okay, this is going to be, Power Rangers and yeah, okay, cats in a dungeon, right? So the first thing that I do is like, has anybody else done cats in a dungeon? What have they done? Like, what does that look like? A lot of my ideas are not original.
There's a lot of authors that don't look on this kind of stuff. So you do look, because I've seen authors that, I'm making a cyberpunk game. So they shut themselves and don't look to other cyberpunk games. They make their stuff and then they look. Well, do you look beforehand or?
No, I look beforehand because I don't want to create something that someone's already done. So I've had a lot of dead end ideas just because I'm like, oh, here's a cool idea. And I'll Google it. I'll search around and then find out that somebody's already done it. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. Like, no, it doesn't. You don't have to give up then. But like, if what I want to make isn't going to be either better or significantly improve upon or like be different enough, then I'll be like, okay, well, this person's already done that. I have enough ideas. I can come up with something else tomorrow, and that's fine. So I do a lot of research, and then when I'm doing drawings, I'll do a lot of research looking at how other people have drawn stuff. I love looking at anatomy and models and stuff like that. So I do. That is definitely a ritual that I do, is looking at the internet before I start creating anything.
I'm with you, Andrew. I
eat the grapefruit. And...
I surround myself in if I'm writing a cyberpunk thing, I'm reading cyberpunk games, I'm listening to cyberpunk music, I'm watching cyberpunk movies, because I want to be embraced in that world.
Because and even if you steal something from them, you always will reinterpret it through your lenses, through your experiences, and you always adapt it. I discovered that my games are always influenced by the games I'm playing or reading as I'm writing them.
Sure.
So as I'm doing like Primal Quest and like going through all these games, this is very interesting. I can like reinterpret this in this form or another, and then put in the game in some way. Like we learn so much from each other, I think, in this way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that after I've done that research, which is probably more like a precursor ritual, I typically do sort of silo a little bit, especially if it's a drawing, because I'll go and I'll look at what other people have done, and then I kind of want to take myself out of that research mode because I get easily distracted. If I'm not like, okay, it's time to like be actually drawing, like I can get easily distracted and be like, oh, cool, like here's how this person drew a mushroom. Oh, cool, here's some cottage core decorations. Oh, cool. Now I'm just looking at Pinterest for
Yeah,
mushroom houses for the next hour. That like I have to be kind of
I
strict with
see.
myself.
Yeah,
Be like, I go
yeah,
and I
yeah.
do the research for my mushroom game or my Dungeon Cats game, and then I'm like, okay, I've done enough research. Now I can go draw cats in medieval armor and write a game about cats in dungeons, and then you know, I just put on some
Yeah, yeah.
instrumental or lyricless music and just kind of jam.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm very much like that when I'm doing like research. So I'm looking specifically for this thing for a game. So I look just enough. Oh, I have this idea. I try not to lose too many time, but I do a lot of just search, just reading about stuff and reading other games. And I read something. Oh, I can reinterpret this in some way for my game. So I stop and then I go back, and then I go back. I just always
Yeah.
we always find always inspiration from other things. So I went to my kids' school last Saturday for like activities with the family, and we're doing like those like uh kind of tattoos with watercolor pencils that you dip in water and you draw on their skin, you know.
You're
And
tattooing
I
8-year-olds now? Is that you're tattooing your 8-year-old?
with watercolor pencils, yes.
Okay. Sounds
and
cool.
and I started making and I draw one of the symbols I drew for uh Primal Quest adaptation for Old School Essentials that I'm thinking about using in the game in some context. And then I had an idea to make body painting mechanics in the game that you can draw yourself on as a player. You draw and
Oh
you get
yeah.
some benefit for the character, and you leave the game with some memory of the game you just played. So I think inspirations can come from all sorts of places, right?
If I come down to Brazil, will you give me a tattoo?
A temporary
Permanent. I want
tattoo
to.
with
Jogo is
watercolor,
shocked.
Yeah, I want a tattoo.
with watercolor pencil. Sure, it will wash away, but sure.
I
I can I
just
can I can carry watercolor pencils the next time I go to Gen Con too. I can do it there.
all right. And then I'll just, as soon as you do it, I'll immediately go down the street to the closest Indianapolis tattoo parlor and get it permanently inked. Deal.
Okay,
Yeah, but as far as inspiration goes, I
I'll
get it
get
all the
one
time.
too. I always I've been stalling getting a tattoo for too long.
Oh, can I draw it though? Are you gonna let me draw your tattoo? I'll let you draw mine.
It's
Fair is
it's
fair.
phrases for sure. Yeah, it's phrases that I want to tattoo for. I want to tattoo one of the illustrations for House of the Blood King in my arm. I spoke
Oh, from
with
Justine
Justine Jones, and
Jones.
she,
Oh
yeah, I
yeah.
spoke with her, and she said, "Yeah, cool, do it." But I'm too scared.
No, don't be scared.
And they cost so much. I mean, it's expensive stuff. But talking about inspirations, that's something I want to ask you. Uh,
Oh, sure.
do you have any favorite source of inspiration? I mean, for example, a lot of stuff that I do with my games that I explore comes from my passion for pop culture, be it Saturday morning cartoons or Star Wars or like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or any kind of pop culture geeky stuff. There's some about literature too, Appendix N, but any particular source of inspiration that you draw a lot from that speaks to you, Andrew, for example?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Go
I
first.
think that yeah, I think that my like everything I experienced in my childhood, starting with being exposed at a very young age to comic books, and from that, I think being exposed to trading cards, and then from that being exposed to Magic the Gathering, action figures, miniature wargaming, and then role-playing gaming. You know,
Can
and
you
then
say a
all of
little
the
bit
movies that
specific?
I
Anything? Can you say anything specific in
yeah,
your work
yeah,
from these sources?
from so okay, so one of the things that's really cool that Steve does when we do an episode of the Mad Dungeon podcast, is he writes out an appendix end for each episode. So for each of the episodes, we're constantly kind of drawing from our lifetimes, our experiences, like the things that inspire us, and it's constantly changing. So it is hard to say one thing in particular. Like I feel like I'm drawing from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of constantly, as that is something that was very near and dear to me as a child.
As I know, Andrew has at least one tattoo that he shares with siblings of his, and there's also Ninja Turtle art directly to his left, even though you can't see it right now.
Okay.
You're right. There absolutely is. Yeah, so I mean, Ninja Turtles, like it's kind of like the perfect source because it has kung fu, ninjas, it's got mutants, it's got aliens, it's got technological like robots, it's got cool vehicles, yeah, it's got magic. It's literally, it has everything. And I think a lot of people that are maybe just a few years older than me, I'm 40, I was born in 83. I think people that are just a little bit older than me look at Masters of the Universe kind of in the same light. It's got high fantasy, it's got cool, magic, it's got
I love them both.
Yeah, and
for me, in Brazil, they're like the same time here. Like they pass on the same shows.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess I would say I probably draw from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the most. But you can draw inspiration from pretty much anything, like you were saying, like, painting with your kids, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, here's a cool idea for in-game tattoos or face paint, so.
If you learn to have your eyes open for this kind of stuff, you can start to see small things that you can use for a lot of stuff,
Yeah, I get very inspired by movies. So like the last several things I've been working on, like I walked out of X, the horror movie that's the sequel is Pearl, and it's just a horror movie in a cabin, right? So then I came out and I was like, I loved it, and I started working on my Cursed Cabin game. And that came out of a game I made because I wanted to run a Suicide Squad game. So I have a system called Dice Chainsaw, which is a pretty much one person left stand. You play until like one player's not dead is the idea. So this started with a Suicide Squad game, which I'll put out eventually. But the first thing I'll put out for this will be a Cabin in the Woods style game. That's like Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre X. Like it's a huge tropey kind of thing, but it's fun. We know these tropes. And if the whole idea of the game is pretty much one person is left standing, the fun of the game isn't necessarily playing the game. It's seeing if you as the player are that person. So I'm constantly inspired by the things that I watch. I just put together a potential appendix N for this upcoming season, which includes a lot of things that Andrew was just talking about. Because I want it to be fantasy, but I also want to have like these modern or sci-fi elements to it. So like Nimona just came out, that film, and also the graphic novel, and that seemed like a good fit for this. Or even the new She-Ra and the Princesses of Power on Netflix is a good touchstone on this. It is a great show. Like, I don't know if enough people know about that show, but
I forget the name of the Catwoman that's initially is friend with She-Ra's, and then they fight, and it's my favorite character. I forgot her name, but then like she's so fun, and I don't know, she goes through changes for the show and growth, and it's great.
Everyone does. Yeah, she is the best character arc in the whole show. I want to say Katara. That's not right.
Catra. I think it's Catra here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've not seen it, so I'll just have to take your word for it. Both of your words.
Take my word for this. Sit down and watch it.
Go watch it. It's not that long. There's a lot of stuff, and there's really this sci-fi fantasy that's really really cool.
And a lot of
There's a lot of stuff you can steal. Okay, yeah, and there's a lot of ideas you can steal, and I don't know, it's real characters with real problems, growth, and there's all. It's fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
and
like
same
it.
author from Nimona and She-Run the Princesses of Power. So the same
I haven't
person is
seen
the
a
brains
mono
behind
yet,
both.
but it's on my watch list there. But you're talking about movies. Is there any? Do you have a favorite movie? Do you have one, or you can choose? For
Oh, I
example.
got lots,
Oh,
but
no, Repo Man is your favorite movie.
Andrew knows me so well. Repo Man is my favorite movie.
What's that? Repo Man.
It it is a punk rock film by Alex Cox, same guy that did Sid and Nancy, starring Emilio Estevez, an 80s film about this punk rocker who loses his crappy job in a grocery store and ends up becoming a repo man with Harry Dean Stanton. It is probably the most quotable film of all time, where they end up trying to hunt down a car that has the decomposing bodies of aliens in the back of it. And it is a ridiculous, over-the-top comedy, and I love it.
It's a fun
I'll
film.
look for it. Yeah.
You should watch it. You should
Repo
watch
Man.
it. Yeah.
Repo Man, I love it. Also up there are Mad Max, The Crow, The Warriors.
Oh yeah, The Warriors, Mad Max. Cool. So you like this kind of more 80s adventure kind of movies, or?
Yeah, it turns out I also went to film school, and I just reject all the pretentious, wonderful films of that. And I like myself over the top schlocky. I'll take over the top schlocky fun over break your heart art films every time. Although I love all of them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Have you seen that Boyhood? Some people
yeah.
love it, some people hate it.
I loved it. I cried.
Yeah.
It's a Linkletter.
Yeah.
It's
that's exactly the stuff you said. It's terrible. Like it's so I don't know. It's a story. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't mean. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I'm into all these films. Like, there's no genre I don't like. Like, I'll watch all of them.
Oh, so wait, hang on. I think I can. If I think about it, I bet I can name a genre of film that Steve doesn't like.
Ooh, let's do it.
So, because Steve can be quite a movie snob sometimes.
Hallmark Sandler movies. Adam Sandler movies. What do you think about Adam Sandler movies?
Adam Sandler movies. That might be it too.
It's hard. It's hard to separate my teenage self who enjoyed Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore from my older self that watched, what was that last cowboy one? The Ignorant Six or whatever that was on Netflix. The Stupid 10 or whatever. But yeah, it has a place, like
I've been watching his new stuff.
Adam Sandler movies?
Oh yeah. Well, have you seen his latest specials, like comedy specials, his music?
No,
it's so good.
Not lately.
It's fantastic. It's so good. So I've been watching his stuff, and I have this other vision from this stuff. And he won a Mark Twain Award for comedy. I don't know if you were aware of this. I think it was this year or last year. And the way all the people that works with him talks about the way he operates and he treats everybody well and takes care of everything. I don't know, makes me really sympathetic with the stuff he makes. I know it's silly, but I like silly stuff.
Listen,
like
the world is
sometimes
certainly a better place with Adam Sandler in it. I want to live in a Adam Sandler world as opposed to a world with no Adam Sandler. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's always these people. Oh, it's really hard to make me laugh. Oh yeah, that must be terrible to be you. I mean,
yeah. Oh my gosh!
I love that I'm an easy laugh. I mean, I have fun. So, do you like being hard to have fun? I don't know. People take some pride in this. I mean, okay.
Yeah, I love
to have
comedy.
When it comes to
I think
film,
Andrew was lagging something. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now yes.
I was just gonna say that when it comes to like film and like comedy and stuff like that, I am very easy to please. Um,
This is true.
I, I, it's hard for me to like not get invested in a story, you know, even if it's like a really short story, like you know, who's the comedian that just does all the like the one-liners, Mitch Hedberg. You know, I'm easily amused, and when it comes to film, it's really hard for me to have to walk out on a movie. I've done
I
it
don't think
before.
I've
Yeah.
ever gone to a movie with Andrew where Andrew didn't enjoy the movie. I mean, I like dozens and dozens of films that we've gone to together
I
where I'll come
understand
out.
that. It's
I'm much more critical, and it's a breath of fresh air with Andrew.
it
I would
takes so
prefer to
much
like
more
stuff.
energy to yeah, it takes
Yeah.
so much more energy to be criticizing and wanting everything to, you know, be perfect. And I don't know, it kind of the artist's eyes kind of okay, it's not perfect, but what good thing is there that I can, I don't know, take it, I know. I mean, I bet we could stay here and talk 3 hours about bad films that we enjoyed something, or about polemic stuff like, oh, the new Star Wars movies. What do you think about them? We would spend hours here. But I think we, we we should move on to something. And yeah, you both are about to release a new Kickstarter or working on Cat Dungeon, right? And
Dungeon
I want
Cats,
to,
yeah.
yeah, Dungeon Cats. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this and what is the weirdest thing, your favorite weird thing about this, the Dungeon Cats.
My favorite weird thing about it. Can I
No,
start by sort of telling you where
initially,
it
yeah,
came from?
yeah. Initially, I
Okay.
was, what is this? No.
Okay. So, my wife, my beautiful bride Becky, decided earlier this year that she wanted to start a creative vending machine business. So, do you know what this is, Jogu? It's basically you get
No.
a snack vending machine, take all the snacks out, you paint it fun, crazy colors, and then you fill it with all kinds of weird stuff. This is right up your alley, actually. So
Weird is key.
weird is key, right? So she wants to have like um, books that she really enjoys reading. She wants to have like
Okay.
jewelry, little art pieces. She makes these like pom pom earrings that she wants to put into this vending machine, and she wants to have them at breweries, like you know, not bars, but like breweries where people go and hang out, spend the afternoon. And
I
a
had
big
an idea,
theme.
like make a half written diary. Like every day is like half written. You just have to finish the day, you know.
half half written, like half
Diary.
diary.
A diary.
Yeah.
All the days like half written, like until like even sometimes you write the evening, you have to fill in the morning, and sometimes they write the morning, you have to fill in the evening.
That's pretty
So
fun.
she decided that she wanted to have some games available in
Okay.
the vending machine because a lot of times people will go to these breweries for the afternoon and they'll like play games together at these breweries. And so she asked me, she was like, "Hey, can you make a role-playing game that can be played in a brewery with a bunch of people that don't know how to play role-playing games and can be done in like an hour?" And I was like, I don't know, like when you're in a brewery trying to get people to play a game, it's kind of like herding cats. And she was like, yeah, just make a game about herding cats. I was like, okay. So that's what I did. And so it's the whole idea behind it is that you play as cats who, as you know, have like short extension spans, and you're trying to like go into a dungeon and fight some vile creatures and get the loot before you run out of lives. So as you know, cats have 9 lives. The game mechanic is very simple. You have two d6, and when you want to do something, you have to roll 2d6 under your current lives. So you start with 9, And as the adventure progresses, you start to lose lives. And that's the whole game. Probably the weirdest thing about it is some of the vile creatures. Certainly some of the artwork is very weird. It's not like a cutesy cat game. I mean, I guess it's kind of cute, but
It's kind of cutesy.
it's kind of cutesy.
Yeah,
You can't play this game
cover
and
is
not be
cute,
cutesy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have
Yeah.
cats in games and not be cute. Even like cat that Call of Cthulhu, with like
Oh, yeah.
Cthulhu and stuff. It's cute. It's cats.
Yeah. Who doesn't love
It's
cats?
inevitable. Yeah.
So one of the
Dogs,
things
maybe.
I'm doing is I'm putting the option for people to have their cats. There's a dog. There's a picture of my dog in the game too, because the dogs are the bad guys, right? But I'm allowing people to have their cats in the game. So you can, if you back the Kickstarter, which I don't know when this episode is going live, but the Kickstarter will be launching pretty soon. You can have your cat's name in the book.
Release it while the Kickstarter is, just to try to help with our, I don't know, 100 listeners or something. Yeah.
Yeah, get all 100 of them. But the other thing is that if you back at like the biggest level, I'll draw a picture of your cat and put it in the book. So
Nice.
there's only a few slots available for that, but yeah, that's what Dungeon Cats is all about. The pre-launch is up right now on Kickstarter, and yeah, just go get your cat in that book. There you go. Thanks for asking.
Do you both have do you both have pets? Like, do have cat? I assume you have cats, Andrew.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any?
I have. Yeah, I've got a cat, Yara. If you follow me on social media, it's at @epic_levels. You'll see Yara is featured in a lot of the little reels that I do, almost all of them. And then I also have 2 dogs, Griff and Rambo.
I see. And how
Steve,
how's the relationship with your cats and your dogs different in any way, or like?
Oh, well, so Yara kind of rules the house and keeps the dogs in line. The dogs are subservient to the cat, and yeah, everybody seems to be happy with that arrangement.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about you, Steve? Do you have pets?
Yeah. So to be clear, I have nothing to do with Dungeon Cats. This is Andrew's baby. I'm here for moral support. I own a dog named...
Steve hates cats.
It's not true. I love cats. But my dog is named Pipoca, which Brazilian for popcorn.
Oh,
So-
pipoca. Yeah.
Yeah, Brazilian Portuguese. Pipoca.
Yeah.
So Poca for short. So that's my dog. And I did live with Andrew for a while. So my dog was part of this big pack of animals for a while. I've walked Griff and Bo quite a bit together. We fought other dogs with groundskeepers. We've seen the other side of the highway. We've drank at breweries. We've been through a lot, us and those dogs. So maybe I'll do the sequel to Dungeon Cats, Dungeon Dogs later.
Yeah,
We'll
there you
see.
go.
Yeah. Well, or maybe hex dogs or something like.
Oh,
Dungeon
hex
Cats
dogs.
And hex. Yeah, I don't
Dungeon Cats and Hex Dogs. I think we got a thing
know.
here.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited about Dungeon Cats, but I'm not as excited as I am for me and Giogu's upcoming project, which is color-form dungeons. Do you remember that idea? The like
Color-form
color
dungeons?
form. Yeah, you came up with the idea at Gen Con for the little stickers that
Oh yeah.
they're like peel off. You know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah. Like the sticker like album. Yeah. I even got like this dungeon book that's a pocket one. You can open it and it's laminated and you can put stickers in it. And it's basically it doesn't come with stickers, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the ones you can like draw and take away. So it's probably perfect for doing the idea. I would love to do that
Oh,
someday. Yeah.
yeah. So like you can, is it like you can put the stickers on and then peel them back off again?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because they are like laminated, like those. It's a book for dungeon maps, so it's
Hmm.
all really laminated. So you can draw it and erase it. So you can probably do those stickers that you can put and take off.
Very
I would
cool.
assume. Yeah. So talking about this weird stuff in your work, besides Dungeon Cats, and especially since Steve is not really doing this, what would you say is the weirdest thing about the things you do, like the work you do creatively, going to be, whether it's the podcast, the material you write or you draw, or the music you make? Steve,
I mean, I will say the Mad Dungeon podcast is weird at its core. It's built
Yeah.
to be odd in the weirdest way possible, and for us to, me, Andrew, and the guest to dig into our oddest inclinations, our primal lizard brain thoughts of the things that have stuck with us throughout our lives. So the one that we're putting out as we're recording this is with James D'Amato, who does the One Shot podcast, and together we made a room that is a pirate treasure map where you can you need to solve it like a highlights book with a bunch of word jumbles and weird things on the walls. If you can't solve the the puzzle, then you could join the polyamorous relationship of the pirates that live inside of the 2D walls. This is just an example of one of dozens and dozens of rooms that we've made that are always very, very weird. But I embrace
Dozens,
the weird.
dozens and dozens is actually 32 rooms, I think, so far this season. But
Yeah, this season, but we have last season too, which isn't terribly far
yeah,
off. I mean, with
that's true.
Go
That's
back to
true
the
for sure.
Geoga room, and we made a cat god that vomits up hairballs and
Yeah.
and creates alien style murder tigers. Yeah, they're always very fun because it's a very
yeah.
creative work. And for writing, it's fun for me because writing is an art. A lot of times it's such a solitary thing. So it's very fun to be in a creative situation with other people and be part of a team.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, as far as my music goes, with me and Andrew with Epic Levels, jokes are at the tip of everything that we're doing. So weirdness is also built into all of the songs we're making. The last songs that we put out are Bugbear Barber and Dark Sunglasses, which is just making a bunch of jokes about the Dark Sun Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting. Upcoming songs are House on Haunted Hill Dwarf, about a couple guys getting stuck in a haunted house, D&D style. We have one named Mega Dungeon Men, which is just about mega dungeons, and we brought in a bunch of nerdcore rappers to be on that with us, including some of our heroes, Mega Ran and MC Frontalot, who are two of the real stalwart nerdcore rappers. So it's been really fun getting that stuff together. We have another song just all about mimics, and then in my music in general, I'm always, if it's my more indie rock, punk rock sounding stuff, even then I'm trying to do things that aren't standard. It's none of my stuff is pop punk or just generic Tom Petty style rock and roll stuff. I'm constantly looking for what's the weird option to go to, or a different option while still being accessible. That's always the thing. How weird is too weird when people are going to get turned off by it versus just weird enough to question why.
It's always a weird balance, Even in, I was watching the game design course and saying game design is always this weird balance. You want to innovate because you want to bring something new, but you can't innovate too much to alienate the people that understand this genre of games like we're doing. So probably in music or any other form of art is kind of that. You want to bring something new and then make them see something they haven't seen, but it can't be so alien they can't understand and not relate to it in some way, right?
Yeah, and also even with like my role-playing game stuff writing, I always have I'd say a more cinematic mindset than I do a game mechanic-y mindset. I'm more interested in uh I don't know, cool visuals in the theater of the mind when
Yeah.
you're playing with your friends almost more than anything else.
Yeah, I'm just saying that this kind of applies to all kind of fields in some way, I would say. And what about you, Andrew? What is, you know, the weird thing about your work, or besides Dungeon Cats, or any particular favorite thing?
I mean, I I do love I love all of it. I think the thing that is, if I was going to have to classify what I do as a creative as being weird, I think it would be that I don't have really one thing that I primarily focus on. So I do the show with Steve, right? I do a dungeon room drawing every week. I do illustration work for RPGs and commission-based stuff. I do music, playing and writing the music with Steve. And I do game writing. I do game development and, proofreading and writing of games. And then I do like wizard jokes and social media content creation. And I love being able to, I love having the freedom and the ability to like be able to do all of those things sort of simultaneously. I think because I'm doing so many different things, I'm not like particularly amazing at any of them. I think I'm like okay at kind of all of those things, which maybe I'm my own worst critic. I don't know. But I
I
love
think
the
we're all kind
variety,
of that,
right?
you know. And we're all
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
like this. I
But
mean,
I love the variety. Like, and I think the variety is the
yeah,
weird thing about it is that like I love being able to like, oh, like I can work on this drawing, for a few hours and then take a break and work on a deck building card game that I'm coming up with, or take a break from that and go and doodle around, with some music ideas, or go from that to working on writing an adventure, or go from that to coming up with wizard jokes.
I think that's
have
why
you
me and
ever
Andrew get
battled?
along so well. This is like how I work as well. Like, what am I
Yeah,
inspired to work on now? And then I'll go do that. Right. Though I will say with
yeah,
the show, though, we do give ourselves hard deadlines. So Andrew does have to do a drawing every week. I do have to get that show hour plus of us talking down to 200 or less words, which is much more challenging than it might
yeah.
sound. You know.
I'm
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Uh, have you ever dealt with this idea or this sense that you needed to focus on one of these aspects of your art, or if you should just embrace all this holistic approach to art that you have, and how do you feel about that? How do you dealt with that, or
I
that
mean, I
never
think
occurred
Steve,
to you?
yeah, I mean, Steve kind of just pointed out, a reality of having an episode come out every week that's accompanied by a drawing and a written portion, right? I have to draw that every week, and Steve has to write that every week. Um, so it's maybe it's not as cool as I made it sound just just now, because we do have to like keep ourselves to a little bit of a deadline. Um, I don't know if that
No,
has
I
any
Yeah,
mean,
and I
yeah,
and
of
I work
course.
well with a hard deadline, but I will say us moving into our season 3 as a actual play as opposed to us creating something every week is another way for me and Andrew to not have that deadline so that both of us can finish the projects that we have like half started, right? So like my Cursed
Oh, okay.
Cabin, like that writing is almost done, but it's always on the back burner because I have these hard deadlines for Mad Dungeon, right? And so I'm looking forward to being able to sit down and finish a bunch of these games that I've had sitting around. When I met Andrew over a decade ago, I introduced him to a game I had written called Outworld, and like that thing I haven't touched. I've had that thing just sitting around for like literally over 10 years, 15 years. Not that I'm working on it every day. I'll put it down for like, 6 months at a time and then come back to it. But I'm looking forward to being able to like sit down and really bang these things out. Well, I'm still
I
spending the
cannot
same amount of
wait
time
for the day
writing.
that Steve releases that game because it's so cool.
And have
When's
you
that- when's
ever
that happening?
struggled with that?
After Dice Chainsaw stuff, I'm gonna go for the smaller ones. That's a big book. I'm gonna work on some little books first. That's another thing which Yogu is very good at, and we talked about that before, is releasing things like quick start rules, releasing things in like little chunks, and then feeling free to put out the bigger books later. I think that's wonderful advice.
Hello weirdos, this is Diogo Nogueira and I'm back with a word from our sponsors. Me. I just released a new game called Cosmosaurus, in which you play a dinosaur space ranger who protects the galaxy from evil threats such as slime bankers, undead pirates, and Cosmosaurus from a void dimension. It's a game with a runes-light system inspired by Forged in the Dark and Lasers and Feelings. It comes with a bunch of tables for you to generate content for it. If you know my games, they're really easy to play and they have tools to help you improvise and play with low prep. It's an ideal game for one-shots, short campaigns, and introducing new people to the hobby, and it's a really perfect family game. I play with my kids all the time. It's a game inspired by Saturday morning cartoons. It's really well illustrated by Lucas Kowalski from Poland, and with a great layout by Guilherme Gontijo. It's a really fun game. You should check it out on DriveThruRPG, itch.io, or exclusively in print on exaltedfurner.com. I have many other games there, check them out. All the links are in the show notes, so click there. And let's get back to Weird with our chat. My idea is to make the minimal viable product and to release it, and it's a very useful technique for people that are starting. I think for everyone, because you make the game work with the essential parts, and you can release it, and you have a sense of accomplishment, and helps you drive you to make the other stuff, and lets you build the game slowly instead of trying to build this colossal thing and all at once. I remember when I was writing my first game inspired by DCC and Astonishing Superman Sorcerer of Hyperborea, I wrote more than 300 pages, and I had wanted to illustrate it, and it was too big, and I would never finish. I never finished that one. And in the game that I actually first published it was Sharp Sword and Sensor Spells, which is 48 pages, and was really focused on make it viable. And then I expanded it, and now I have a second edition coming, which is really, really expanded. But it still works on the same chassis as the base 48 pages. You just provide more tools and stuff. So I think that's really useful. Just make it viable as the skeleton of the game, and make it playable this way. And then you expand it, and you can use it to test it, and the next version you can get better, because
and also that feedback is really important. You know, like you make a game and find out if people like it. And like there's what they do like and what they don't.
There's a famous story in art schools that says there is this class, the ceramic class, and the teachers divide the class in two halves, and one half he says, oh, your grades will be based on the best vase you make the whole year. This one vase will be your grades. And then the other half says, it doesn't matter how good your vase is. I want to grade you how many vases you do. And by the end of the year, the half that was making the most vases was making the best vases too, because they have all this practice, they failed, they make crappy things, and they learned a lot. And the people that were trying to make the best vases were like making crap stuff, because they were so stuck trying to make something perfect. They never got it done,
Diogo, this is my favorite art parable. When I'm doing, big quote sales calls, when I'm talking to bands and when people are making things and they're like, oh, I'm still working on this record or I'm doing this. I tell that very story. I'd like once or twice a week,
Yeah.
I will tell that story because I believe in it wholeheartedly.
Oh yeah.
Like just make lots of stuff, make mistakes. It's important.
Yeah, and because you can get better from this, but if you just trying to make something perfect and never get done, you'll never get better. You're always stuck in
It's
this
true.
ideal, and it never gets, you know, practically done. I don't know. Well, now getting into more like a personal things and talk about experiences, I wanted to ask you about weird experiences you had with gaming, like the weirdest game you ever played or the weirdest session you ever had playing. It can be RPGs or video games or board games or any kind of game.
I mean, they
Okay, sure.
Do you have one, Andrew?
I've got a ton, man. Like I could go on this rant forever. All right, so I'll start with a fun family one. So have you ever played the game Settlers of Catan?
Yeah.
It's a pretty popular board game. In that game, there is a little a meeple that you move around, and it prevents
The
other
robber, right?
players from
The robber.
The robber is the name of the meeple, and it prevents other players from collecting their different resources. The resources are, of course, sheep, brick, stone,
Wood.
wheat, lumber, right?
Yeah.
So I'm playing with my family, and somebody rolls a 7 and puts it on my mother's forest, right? Preventing her from collecting the lumber. And the game progressed for quite a long time, like maybe 5 or 6 times around, and nobody rolled a 7. And so my mom said, that thief has just been sitting on my wood all game long. And all of my siblings, we all cracked up laughing, as hilarity ensued. And my mom was like, what? I, I don't get it. What? And then eventually realization of what she had said dawned on her. So yeah, that was a fun, weird moment. I don't know if that's really weird as so much as just fun, a fun game time story, but I don't know that I've shared that one before. You got one brewed yet, Steve?
Oh, I mean, all the time. So we do the Mad Dungeon podcast, as I've said a lot of times on this already, and we make these.
Say it again.
Right, the Epic Levels Mad Dungeon podcast, season 2, in which we're making a single dungeon room with a guest.
Okay, I was just kidding.
Large. Well, I'm getting to a point.
You
with
can.
this.
I mean, come on,
So,
it's a great podcast.
Where we're making pretty much a mega dungeon by the end of the year. But I've been going to cons all year long, including Gen Con with Giogu. And we'll also be at Gamehole Con in Madison, and also PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. But in all of these places, I'm running OSE in our Mad Dungeon rooms. And you want to talk about weird? It's weird every time I do this. So when I just ran at Dragon Con in Atlanta, one of my last games, we made a room with Justin Sorois of Severed Books, in which there was a large chimera milking cow robot who's also your neighbor. It has 3 heads. And by the end of this game, I had someone riding on the back of a jumbotron while fighting off a smog monster. And the old Dungeons and Dragons trope of don't put a portable hole in a bag of holding or something catastrophic will happen also happened at the end of this game, where I had the entire world pretty much disintegrated by the end of it. So D&D or any role-playing game is like as wild as your imagination you want to let it go, but our like Mad Dungeon rooms talking about weird are built for ultimate weirdness. And so, man, we did a room with Joy Royale of
Oh yeah,
some very
it's
fun
fantastic.
DCC Ninja
Yeah.
City. And the room we made with Joy Royale is like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic band and pizza mascot room. I ran a game at, I don't even remember where it was, earlier this year, one of the many cons, but they spent a whole half of the session just fighting a giant pizza monster, and we were all
That was a
having,
Gen Con. Yeah.
yeah, that was a Gen Con game. And like that was incredibly fun, and just people trying different things. And yeah, this hobby is a very fun hobby, and I think if you
Yeah.
embrace the weird, you're doing great. And I'm the kind of guy who runs things. I want the weirdness. I want the absurdity, and I want to laugh. I am not the kind of role player that wants to take things 100% serious. Like there's a lot of like actual play podcasts or that are like looking for that cathartic moment where their character can give a monologue about like, how they finally have found their family and their friends or whatever. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the giant pizza monster fight at the end of the day.
Speaking of Joey Royale, I got to play with Diogo in Joey Royale Ninja City game at Gen Con. That was a pretty weird
fantastic.
game. That was a
It
lot
was
of fun.
fantastic game. Yeah, yeah.
Diogo, describe your ninja. Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I had powers like to make this manipulate force, like kind of telekinesis. And right in the beginning of the game, I like make this huge barrier to protect people. And it was really fun game. And my kid loves ninjas, and we were playing here like Ninja Quest, and
Oh
like
yeah.
the tags you have to choose your ninja animal, like you can be a dragon, or it could be a bear, it can be a serpent, or something. And you can have to choose elemental power, so it can be a dragon of fire, of shadow, or anything. And then you choose like a synchronous ninja technique, like the bleeding sword, or like all this the tags will be like the aspects of the ninja and things like that. So it's been fun.
It's awesome.
And now talking a little bit about weird experiences you might have had. That do you have anything weird happen to you recently? Have you been having deja vus, or have you someone read you your future, or you saw, I don't know, you saw something weird that um, jaunted you on the street recently, or anything like this?
I'd say not recently, but something I've been thinking about a lot lately is was I abducted by aliens when I was a child?
No,
No,
you weren't.
I don't think so either. But I did share a room with my brother when we were younger, and I have a very vivid memory of a flying saucer at the end of our street with people going in and out of it. And I don't know if I dreamt it or my brother dreamt it.
People,
And then one of us told, yeah, like neighborhood people, like humans.
they would get in and
Uh,
out of it.
yes, like they would
Anything
be like
changed or no? Just like, oh, I see, like an open house, like the flying saucer open.
more like
They
they
had,
were moving,
okay,
like a moving truck or something, but like
okay,
glowy and in the middle of the night. So I don't know. I talked to my brother about, he has the same memory, but I'm thinking that it was like one of us had dreamt it and told the other one, and then we both just like kept it in our
yeah, we
memories as
both
an
saw
actual
it.
experience. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
A collective experience. There was a like a yellow jacket that stung my wife. We went up to the corner tavern, which is like a pub, and we were like having a beer. We had the dogs with us outside. We were sitting outside. It was a nice day. We were sitting outside, and a yellow jacket just came down and stung my wife, right? And she's like, ow, this goddamn fucking bumblebee. Can I curse?
yeah, of course, yeah.
This goddamn fucking bumblebee just stung me. and it flew away a little bit, and then Rambo, our dog, slapped it down with his paw and ate it. I thought that was pretty weird. But
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was like a revenge thing, like, oh, you bite mom, you're going down.
Yeah.
But it was the dogs are always like trying to like bite at flies and stuff, but they never catch them, right? And this bee came and stung Becky, and then Rambo just like snapped it,
I was
killed it, and
defending.
ate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, the weird part of that story is that Yellow Jacket was actually a CIA drone, and then the dog is doing counter surveillance by eating it.
Yeah,
It's a Russian
yeah,
dog.
and that's
Counter
crazy.
display.
Might be.
Robo dog. Did you ever see that? You ever see that? It was like Grant Morrison comic book called We Three, where the dog, it was like a dog, a cat, and maybe a bunny rabbit, and they were all like had cybernetic military implants. Sometimes I think
No.
maybe Rambo has like cyber implants.
Yeah.
No, you haven't seen that? You should check it out. It's worth a read. If
I'm
I'm
a lover
the
of
name?
Grant Morrison, I'll say that.
It's called We Three, and I think it looks like a dog
We
tag.
Three.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That was a weird one.
Talk about other weird experiences you might have had. Do you ever had any awareness altering experiencing either with meditation, hypnosis, dreams, psychedelics, anything that altered your perceptions and made you see things in a different way?
Yeah, sure. Have you ever done like past life regression therapy?
No.
No.
Yeah, I did a past life regression therapy session, which is basically a form of hypnosis.
Yeah.
And it was even more than like tripping on acid or taking mushrooms, or any of those kind of experiences. This was like guided dreaming with incredibly real and visceral feeling memories. It was like walking through a dusty desert, and I could like feel the texture of the rocks, and the creatures howling, the ragtime piano playing. It was insane. I traveled back 3 times, and one of them I witnessed my village being destroyed, and like some kind of jungle situation. There's like an elephant that I was trying to rescue. It was nuts. Yeah. What about you, Steve?
I'd
So do
say
you
for
believe?
us,
So these are like your past lives? Do you?
Yeah. So have you ever read Drawing of the Three? It's part of the Gunslinger trilogy from Stephen King, inspired by a grapefruit, of course. The the way that it's sort of described is you're on a beach and there are these doors, right? And so you open the doors, and and you, through the hypnosis, you go back into a past life, and each time you go back, you like get a small snippet. So the first life I visited was sort of like a Wild Western type of situation, and it had some very visceral, like cowboy type stuff going on. And then the second past life that I visited was a almost like Solomon Kane style um, European. It was like cobblestone streets, with like towers and stuff like that. Felt like a Mordheim session of some kind.
just out there slaughtering heretics.
No, there wasn't any slaughter in that one. There was like a wild animal that like it escaped from a circus or something. And then the third one was very primal jungle. That it was I was like fleeing from a village, and that one was in like 3 parts, right? So I was fleeing from this village that had been destroyed, and then I watched myself die as I was like fighting like another group of I don't know, tribe of something. I don't know. I was trying to save an elephant at one point, but it wasn't like it was like a, you know, maybe a mammoth.
Mastodon.
Yeah, it was a, more, not just a
Okay.
regular old Dumbo with a feather kind of elephant. Yeah, it was kind of nuts.
I'll say that we're probably way more susceptible to things like this with as vivid imaginations as we have to like get
I've always had a super vivid imagination.
Yeah.
You ever been
Well,
hypnotized, Steve?
Yeah, for me, psychedelics were life-changing since high school. I
Wow,
enjoy
since
it.
high school.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Like I've done probably more LSD in high school in a couple years there than any time after. You know, much more chill once I got out of high school when it comes to that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it makes you connect to the world. Like there's like a connectivity that happens when with LSD or mushrooms. LSD more so than any of that stuff.
No, nobody describes you as chill, Steve.
Yeah, also true.
Well, have they seen him on acid? Maybe that's
Good
no
point.
chill on acid, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Nah, I'm in it. I love it. I don't know, just
I
the brain is
I
a
have to
weird.
say I do too. I really do enjoy some acid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a long time where I was very much of the opinion that everyone should do it once, but there are people that
A month.
should not do it. Like, I mean, there's like
We think that because we like it, but I'm pretty sure there's some people that will, I don't
it
know.
ruins them forever. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I guess you don't know, roll the dice.
I think
on
they're
that
too
one.
attached to this normalcy, they're too attached to what they believe, and in this experience make you see things that sometimes are not exactly what you wanted to see, and maybe that's something they can deal with. I don't know.
And I also think it's something that could help you be more empathetic in the world, and understanding these things. But I've had psychedelic experiences where I watched like anime tanks break through buildings or
Oh yeah, of course.
just wild things happening. But
you,
I've
you
also
can have
like
really profound ones and really silly ones, and that's fine. And sometimes you
at
can
the
have
same time.
Yeah, sometimes
like,
all in
even,
one
yeah.
all in one go.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to remind us that like we are this biological being, and to alter and play with our chemistry changes what reality is in general. Like all we are is our senses, and we start playing with what our senses are, it alters what we are completely, right? And even like
Of course,
what it means to be on this planet.
even the sense of who we are.
Absolutely, the sense of who we are. Kill the ego. Who cares who we are? Like,
Exactly.
For me in particular, I'm very much an atheist, although I have been going through a lot of Bible stuff lately. Not in a religious way, but in a combat people who want to murder people over books kind of way. But also, I don't know. So I guess my point is that like I care about legacy a lot. I don't believe in an afterlife, and who knows, maybe there is, but whether or not that's a thing, I very much want to make as much art as possible before I die. And who knows how long that'll last when I'm gone. But again, back to the vase story, it's like I want to make as much art as possible because hopefully one or two of these things that I make will be worthwhile. Like I'm not under the impression that everything I do is great, right? Like it's just the opposite. But I do think every once in a while there's this thing that hits just the right notes, and the right combination of things happen to make like a great song. Like you never know what it's going to be, or a great piece of art, or a great story.
I guess that as long as the hosting keeps getting paid for, the podcast will extend past our depths.
That's okay. We'll start releasing wax cylinders like in our episode.
Okay.
This last one. But
As,
with
as you were talking about this producing a lot of stuff, and hopefully one or two things will be worthwhile. Is that something that worries you a lot? Making something that's considered worthy, or is that
no,
something yeah?
not even a little bit. I want to make things that I'll enjoy, and the hope is that there's other people in the world that are like me and will like it because I like it. So
I think that for me, it's important to create things that I find worthy. So it's less about if someone else, wants to give it accolades, but I do hold myself to, I guess, a level of, I want it to feel like it's like I want to feel like I did a good job, So
Yeah,
whether or not other people agree with that, I guess is kind of
or
more
at
like
least
what Steve is.
that you did your best at that time.
Yeah. At least I
Sometimes
did my
that
best.
may not end up being a great job, but at that time you gave what you could give it. I don't know. It's I always struggle with this of focus on the result, focus on what people are saying, if people are playing it, or focus on the process. What if I'm enjoying making this thing, and it's really hard balancing because I like making things a lot because I can start 12 projects and start making a lot of stuff, but we have to focus on finishing too. It's really something that I struggle with a lot. Yeah, the process is the something that's important. I can't be focused on the results because if I attach it to it, there's all this anxiety. But if it's only on the process, I can start 500 processes and never get a result. So it's do you feel this difficult to balance in this stuff or
well, to go back on the thing that you were talking about before, like making the best thing that you can at that time. I put out a comic book called Ghost Spy with Image Comics. I think it's like 20 years ago at this point. And like, I'm very proud of this book, but I'm a way better writer than I was in like my early 20s when I did that. Right. Like,
yeah.
And then as far as balancing all that stuff, that's a tough thing because you do have to like, okay, I have these ideas, and when the ideas come, I do need to act on it, right? Like I will open up a file and I'll write them down, right? But I do have one project that I like is my focus at any given time. Because I have like 10 or more potential projects that are in some state, but I'm not going to sit there. I'm going to pick the one that I want to complete, and that's going to be the focus.
Yeah, I mean, I think balance is super important, in your creative journey. I don't know that one of those things is more important than the other. But I think allowing yourself to be free and like bounce from one thing to the other is important. That's what I do a lot. And then, some projects I am okay with the fact that I'm not going to ever complete them in a real way, and that's fine. And then other projects, it's like, okay, well, I've done this much work on it and I feel good about working on it to the end, and that's fine too. It doesn't have to be like a hard set rule, like if you start something you have to finish it. There's tons of drawings that I draw something in my sketchbook every day. I don't finish all of those drawings, every now and then I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, this was a good composition, I'm gonna actually make that into a nice drawing, or I'm going to use that pose in something in the future. But I think that everyone should feel the freedom to like create and like just keep creating as much stuff as you want, and then like Steve was saying, like pick the thing that is important to you to finish, not because you think it's your best thing or because whatever, and like try to finish it, and even if it's not perfect, that's fine as long as you're okay with it. Like I think it's okay for all of that to be true.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and now we've just solved all of the creative problems in the world.
Yeah, go make art.
Do you have dreams? Do you remember the dreams you have, and do you use them as inspiration? Or
I remember my dreams frequently. Yeah, we started taking melatonin before going to bed, and I've noticed I'm remembering a lot more of my dreams, and I also like if if I um, if I set my alarm earlier and snooze for 10 minutes and I fall back asleep, oftentimes in that 10 minutes I'll get really fun, you know, easy to remember dreams in that 10-minute snooze window.
hmm,
Um, this
it's a
morning,
dream hack.
yeah, maybe it is. Um, this morning I was on a scooter, but it was like a lowrider scooter, so the handlebars were way up, like Harley Davidson, and the seat was really low. And me and my wife were leaving my parents' house, going to a Starbucks that doesn't actually exist up the street. We got there and it was packed. They had just opened. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and um, we got in line, and I realized that I'd left my wallet at my parents' place. So I jumped back on the lowrider Harley scooter and was going back to my parents' house when I was overtaken by a gang of scooter riders that were like, "Hey, you should come with us. We'll go cruising together." And I was like, "Well, I really need to get back to buy the coffee." And they're like, "Don't worry about that." And then we just rode off into the early morning on scooters. And then there was a big fire, and we had to all like swerve off of the road, and started raining. That was the dream I had this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
What about
You
you,
didn't realize
Steve?
what you were getting into when you asked that, did you?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
do you have any recurrent dreams or no?
Recurring dreams. I used to have a recurring dream. I haven't had it in a while, where Muppets, like Muppet characters, were and they weren't like the main Muppets. There wasn't like Miss Piggy and Ernie and Elmo. It was like Muppets, but they were like sinister, and they would always be like making appearances like ghosts in horror movies. Um,
No.
like in a Muppet
but
Christmas Carol meets Meet the Feebles.
um, no, like more scary than that. But I've always really enjoyed nightmares. I think that if you're okay with being scared a little bit, nightmares can be a lot of fun. So um, yeah, what about you, Steve?
I dream frequently. I feel like I am very often in control of my dreams. I'm often I'm there's a violent thing in me, I think, because I'm often fighting people in my dreams. Maybe that has to do with Chicago living. I don't know, but like I'm almost always successful in the violence in my dreams. But I have lots of other dreams that aren't just that. But as recurring dreams, when I was a kid, I had this dream that I was like with my class, like maybe in kindergarten, pretty young, and at a mall, like in the 80s, that was close to my house, had the second floor, and the railing on the second floor would disappear and I'd fall off the edge of it, but like I'd never hit the ground. And I had that dream a lot when I was a kid. I don't know why.
Oh, falling dreams is a thing that people analyze. I don't know what they say about it, but I
I think
know
it
that
means you're
falling.
cool and you like
Yeah, that's it.
you like good grooming habits,
There you go. Steve does have
eloquent.
amazing, amazing grooming habits. I will say that.
You should see these armpits.
They're
How about
groomed.
you, Giogu?
I I don't remember my dreams, and rarely I do. Sometimes when I do, it's really something good, and maybe that makes an impression. But I don't know. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night with an idea and I take notes. I don't know if I had dreamed it that, but I had an idea and I woke up and I take notes. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a while where I was thinking about keeping a dream journal, and people do say that if you do keep a dream journal,
Yeah.
that you'll remember it more frequently and get in the habit of just
Yeah.
jotting it down when you go.
I should try doing that because people always say dreams are a great way to steal from yourself because your subconscious will have these ideas, but who knows?
I will say I also dream about people that are out of my life, visited by people who have passed away, or also after breakups, like my lovers, like in my dream,
Oh,
not like sexual dreams, but in the same kind of like,
to have
haunting me kind of dream.
closure. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it works the same way with my friends that have died as it is like, I guess, relationships that have died. So I'll say that
Yeah.
happens to me very frequently when I have these kinds of people that are out of my life.
I see.
Sure.
Yeah.
I kept a dream journal for a good amount of time, and I stopped doing it because I don't know if you were able to follow any kind of storyline in the dream I explained to you just a few moments ago, but after doing it, I did it for maybe a year. I kept a pretty accurate dream journal every night. And I went back and was looking through it, and I was like, this is just garbage. Like my dreams don't make it doesn't make any sense, you know. I'm not gonna ever glean anything from this. And so now it's just sort of like a fun little story I get sometimes when I'm waking up.
Yeah, you take snippets of it. Oh, this scene, this character, and I don't know. Maybe it's just small. Probably not everything because it would make no fucking sense at all. But I don't know. I always had this idea that small scenes, small locations, or I don't know. Especially since we're like we consume this pop culture. We read books, watch movies. I imagine maybe I could have a dream about this and steal something from my games. I probably saw some monster or something, but yeah.
I'll say too, recently I've decided, speaking of, I have Outworld, which is the sci-fi game I'm working on forever. I always like with sci-fi, and when you have lots of different like alien species that you could play, you'll frequently make humans the default, right? Because you're humans, you're writing games for humans. So like if it's a scale of 1 to 100 for whatever, humans will be like the 50%, right? And everything else will be stronger or not as smart or whatever. But to give humans something special, and I thought about this for a while, and I think what I'm going to do in that game is have humans be the only species that dreams. So I like the idea of thinking if there are other aliens or people out in the cosmos, is dreaming something special just to humans. I know it's not true, my dog dreams, but it's maybe it's something for Earth, I don't know. But think about that.
Is Pipoca an alien? Are you trying to suggest that Pipoca's from another planet?
Or a human? Who knows?
Oh, a human in a dog suit.
You never know.
Oh, interesting.
Do all animals dream? I don't know. I'm not a dream expert.
Oh, I had a cat that
do androids dream of electric
for sure.
sheep?
She would
like
dreaming and start meow meow and then start biting the cushion when she was sleeping, and then would wake up and like look at us like what's happening or something like this. I'm pretty sure she was dreaming about something. She was pissed off or something. Well, I have like 2 more questions, like to wrap up everything up, like talk about a bit weird. I know I've been kept you here for a long time. We're almost like at 2 hours, so
wow,
Adrian,
time
Steve,
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, if you could have any superpower, what would it be, and what would be the first thing you would do with it?
Ooh.
Healing factor, immortality, and I would just never work again and make art. And I wonder how long before I get bored with that. I'd probably have to take a couple millennia off to just mess around and party for a while and then get back to it later. Live a little, make some art about it. Live a little, make some art about it. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard because a lot of the people you will love, you will die, and this will happen again and again and again and again, eternally.
How's that different from my life now?
Well,
Wow.
it's not eternally. This will end.
Yeah, I
This
guess so.
suffering will end someday.
That's that's pretty dark.
The suffering will end one day. We all die alone.
It's good. I mean, I love, but it's we all suffer something, you know. And then I haven't lost too many people yet, but I imagine after a while it gets, you know, I don't know.
It's never fun. I mean, I feel like people have been dying around me for a long time. I mean, I just had one of my clients, a young woman, pass away from a heroin overdose like 2 months ago. Like that, I interviewed her like just a month
Stopping
before it
selling
happened.
her heroin, like your client.
Yeah, well, it's not me doing it. Like it's
okay.
But
okay.
It was, yeah, I didn't sell her drugs.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like me. I feel like death has been a regular part of. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, I've had lots of friends that have passed away, like my age and younger.
Yeah. I had a few, but none really, really like a best friend or like a parent or a lover or anything like this was. Well, I have the closest thing was like my grandmother was really close to her. Basically, she raised me because my parents were always working, so that was the roughest one. But I mean, living 3,000 years and this happening every 50, it's gonna be hard.
No, I think you get used to it just like anything else. I'll be cool.
Yeah.
You know what? No one I won't be cool is like that Twilight Zone Last Man on Earth where he breaks his glasses at the library. That's when I won't be cool, when it's just like me, Charlton Heston, the Omega Man, and then I'm just stuck upside watching old movies and occasionally fighting a Morlock. You know, that's when I'll get bored.
Yeah.
When there's no humanity left for me to share the world with.
Yeah.
Well,
what about you, Andrew?
Yeah, can I say a superpower? So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now. Steve is currently in Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm real close.
Yeah.
I'm 10 minutes from Lake Geneva.
And Diogo is in Rio. Are you in Rio?
Rio, yeah. Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah. So I think I would love to have the ability to teleport. So like a teleportation power, so that I could go and spend time in person with my friends, because as Steve was just talking about, people die, and I feel like one of the things that I look forward to in this life is just spending time with the people that I feel like I really connect with, the people that I love, and my friends. So I think I would wish for a teleportation power so that I could come down without buying an expensive plane ticket to visit you, Giogu, and play Minecraft with you and your son, and then just straight from there pop up to near Lake Geneva with Steve and
just to eat lunch.
Have dinner with Steve Senior and Steve Junior and
maybe you could share the power, like touching people, so you could teleport everybody and we could just hang out everybody somewhere.
Yeah, I'll teleport us all to the moon and we'll play
we'll play Who Can Breathe Here.
Yeah, Who Can Breathe Here.
That's a horrible game. We'll go somewhere else and we'll play Primal Quest together.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. What about you, Jogu? What superpower would you have?
Oh, I don't know. I always fluctuated between invisibility, so
you could steal stuff.
No, I could be left alone. I could watch. I like people watching. Remember when I went to Gen Con and then I went to New York? One of the fun things I like to do, especially now in New York, they have like legalized marijuana. It's like get high, go to Central Park and just watch people, or go to
Yeah.
like in the middle of the city and just, it's so fun because so many different people. I don't know. So invisibility is a good one, I bet. But flying must feel great, right? Without being in a plane, just flying by yourself. This must be, I don't know,
Have you
really
ever jumped out of a plane?
something. Yes, a couple of times, and I found a floor, and then they stitched me back. No, I haven't.
No
You
skydiving.
never skydiving?
Have you ever done skydiving?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or bungee jumping?
I'm really
Or cliff
I was
jumping?
really scared, a scared kid. I just watched horror movies afterwards, an adult and stuff like this.
Yeah, I think we'd be a
No.
pretty good superhero team. The Immortal Man, the Teleporter, and the Invisible Flyer.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
What we do as a superhero group is just like hang out,
Yeah.
play games, have fun, make art.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a good roundup.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
And last question: what weird thing you wish was real, or any kind of fantasy, fantastical thing you wish was real, uh, in our world and reality?
I mean, traditional Dungeons and Dragons magic might be fun. I
Okay.
just me and Andrew just had a cabin in the woods con where we have just 6 of our friends get together for 3 days, and you have to run one game a day. We do a morning game and an afternoon game. And someone ran a 5e game where they printed out a Dungeons and Dragons 5e character at total random, and it had all these modern magic spells on it. And Andrew, you were already gone by the 6th game, but not when I summoned I used find a vehicle to summon a bus.
Uh-huh.
There are all these dumb spells like on, off, and synchronicity that like have no function in a proper Dungeons and Dragons game. But if like your only job is, or if you're just trying to like get to work, synchronicity is a really weird Dungeons and Dragons spell that just says you won't be bothered by mundane delays, green lights will be waiting for you, elevators are on time, like things like that. So
Nice. Yeah.
so for my answer, just some straight up D&D magic ready to go. I just figure out my spells in the morning. I'm just gonna have a good day. I don't need the aggressive spells. Maybe divination might be nice, or clairvoyance. Cure wounds might be good if I get poison ivy or something.
Yeah.
Um,
What about you, Andrew?
so I love that answer. I think that's a really fun answer. Dungeons and Dragons magic certainly is near and dear to my heart. But I think if I could only choose one thing, I would choose architecture that represents accurately what exists inside the building. And this is something that I
It's like a McDonald's that's a cheeseburger.
Exactly. So like the building, the outside of the building for a McDonald's or any burger joint looks like the burger, right? And if you want to go to like the grocery store, the grocery store looks like a big grocery bag. And I have several friends that are architects, and they can really appreciate like the structural beauty of tall buildings and whatnot. But the buildings that I think are really cool looking, I'm only ever seeing them in fantasy illustrations where, the old lady that lives in a shoe, or the whatever the Harry Potter house is, that like the Weasleys live in a shoe looking thing, or whatever, or like people that live inside of a mushroom, and it's like that kind of stuff, if that existed in the real world, would be so cool. Like, could you imagine if the like telephone company's building was just shaped like a giant old-fashioned telephone? Or I don't know, I don't.
And the
yeah,
elevator
like
would
think
be
of
that
any.
disc that you would put your finger, you enter here, and it tick, 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 that takes all the way up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
The
little
like
windows where the numbers would be.
exactly. Oh my
I
gosh.
can see that.
Like
Yeah.
What a
like
great! You
the
should start a city, Andrew, and just make that like a
Yeah.
bylaw, right? Like you want to start
But
a commercial
that's a
district.
theme park, though. It's not a
It
city,
does
it's a
sound
theme
like
park.
Disneyland
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it is kind of like a theme park, isn't it? Yeah. But like
Yeah.
imagine if theme park buildings existed in the real world. I think that's the weird thing that I would like to squeeze out into reality. You know, like I think about places like um Castle Grayskull, you know, it's a castle that's a skull, you know, like that is so cool. Or you know, the Technodrome, which is like a giant technological circle with an eyeball on top. Like, can you imagine if buildings like had that kind of uniqueness? I think the same thing about cars too, actually, because we spend so much time inside of cars and they all are pretty much the same. You know, like, you know, why can't people be driving around in Batmobiles and Ghostbusters cars and DeLoreans and, you know,
Yeah.
what's the vehicle that the He-Man characters ride around in, you know?
You mean the
Anyway.
vehicle? There's tons of them.
Well, any one of them, all of them. Anyway, there you go. That's what I would ask for.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I don't know if like all entire city of this, but I mean, some of this stuff like this could be fun, I think. But yeah, like every world, if the whole world would be like this, I don't know. Like you go to Paris and to see these buildings that are like this French
Just a
baguettes.
bunch of yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I think that Paris could use a couple of baguette buildings, you know, a couple
Yeah.
of cheese houses that look like a block of cheese. You can
Like
still
a
have
bunch of wine bottles around, giant wine
yeah.
bottles.
You can still have, you know, you can still have the Eiffel Tower, like that's fine. You can still have the pyramids; those are unique, you know.
Andrew, I think this is a great evil villain's origin story where you could go and take over. Where did Doctor Doom live?
Latvia.
Latvia, was wherever, or you know, some out of place country where you're like, the only reason I took over the world's resources is to have a city where mushroom buildings sell mushrooms. Pizza parlors look like pizzas. My
It's kind of
goals have been met.
that's kind of like Carmen Sandiego's like original nefarious plot, right? She like would steal like
Landmarks.
and I don't know where she put them. Probably
Pretty
Latvia.
sure it's Vegas. I think she just put them in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Vegas is about as close
Vegas
as
is pretty close to that. Yeah.
a real city gets to that. So
That's true. Yeah, at least for the photos I've seen. Well, Andrew, Steve, thank you so much for being here and talking about all this weird stuff and revealing details about yourself, about your personal life, about your beliefs and experiences. I've learned a lot. We talk about so many things. I even talked about my my creative crush, Bo Birdman, and you asked questions. So thank you very much for taking part of this. And since this was brought up, if you haven't checked it out, Bo Birdman's Inside special on Netflix, please do. It's a work of art, and it's comedy, it's music, it's social critique, it's so much stuff, and even inspires, for me at least, RPG things. So check it out, and check out the work of Andrew and Steve. They do so much things. They do podcasts, they do RPG books, they do art, they do music, and they are really artists that explore everything art can offer and don't let anything limit them in a single box. And that's what I like to do too. So I identify with them a lot. Do you have any last things you want to say to any of the weirdos that listen to this podcast?
just thank you so much, Chiogu, for having us on. Every time we have a conversation with you, it is enjoyable, it's fun, and it's always weird. So thank you so much for doing this show and for having us on.
Yeah, same, Chiogu. You're one of my favorite people. People like me, you, and Andrew are very specific sort. So if you're listening to this and you feel a kindred spirit with us, there is just a great thing happening in the role-playing game community, especially in the indie developers, where it is there's a lot more folks like us, and we're all making stuff, and we're making stuff together. So support everyone, and introduce yourself to us.
Oh yeah, sure. Come say hi. Yeah.
And get weird.
Yeah.
Get very weird.
Thank you for listening to Weird Games and Weirder People. If you'd like to keep up with the show, please subscribe to be notified when we release new episodes. If you'd like to support us, please leave a review or head on to code-fi.com/WGNWP. See you next time, and remember, weird is the new wonderful.